Well, welcome. I'm Rob Greenlee, and this is Podcast Tips, episode 41. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight. I'm going to tackle a very big question in the podcasting space and in the world today around can humans compete with AI? So that's the topic of the show today, and so I'm excited to get into this to really talk about it here. Um, can can humans really specifically compete against AI as we look to the future in creating media online? Can we all kind of look to the future as this is a place or a career or a path that some of us or all of us can take around media creation in the internet ecosystem as we look to the future, and more specifically podcasting, and then also on the video side. So these are questions that I think all of us are really kind of thinking about in our minds is well, what's the meaning to human existence or human life as we get thrown a lot of things at us right now around the impacts of AI. And I do think that being human comes with a lot of distinct advantages as we really look at AI and super intelligence that's coming in the AI world. Um, and it may not be as scary as we all maybe are being led to believe. And so, what I wanted to run through here really quick is kind of a little bit of an example of what um, different types of AI um, have out there, and then compare that to humans and what we all recognize today as what human intelligence is. I think that's a great place to start in this conversation, and then I'll expand that into talking about AI intelligence and then super intelligent AI intelligence, which is kind of a whole nother level, but it shows you a little bit of a progression in this. And what I brought up on the screen here for those that are listening to this is it's basically a screenshot of the Wikipedia platform under the term human intelligence. And so let me read this to you. Human intelligence is the intellectual capability of humans, which is marked by complex cognitive feats, high levels of motivation and self-awareness. Now, those are kind of human characteristics. I don't believe AI is going to have motivation and self-awareness as part of their mix. Humans use their intelligence to be able to learn, form concepts, understand, and apply logic and reason. Now, certainly certain parts of that will be replicated in AI, and I guess it depends on the time frame that we're talking about here. Human intelligence is also thought to encompass their capacities to recognize patterns, plan, uh, think of new innovations, new ways of solving problems, make decisions, as well as retain information, and then use language to communicate. Now, granted, some of these are coming to AI technologies, but I also think other aspects of human intelligence really come from the emotion side, which this document doesn't really dive into, and our ability to adapt to changing environments from a social perspective. And it's this social intelligence, which is out here, and emotional intelligence, which I don't believe AI is going to have at any point here soon. So that's kind of, I just wanted to set the ground for how I'm coming at this, and that there are certain aspects of human intelligence that are going to be difficult for AI to replicate. So, and I think that's the key thing for us to think about on this topic here. So let me go back to, let me remove this, and I can switch back to the full screen here. Um, but if left alone, and this is kind of an extension of this whole concept of the benefits of AI versus humans. if AI is left alone, and when I say left alone, I'm really talking about tampering, or putting your thumb on the scale, or having a biased data training, which most AI is basically a generation of intelligence that comes from learning, from humans, right, or learning from human content up to this point. So these AIs have not really, my understanding, been what I would call kind of inventive or done things that are human-like in that way. They're really kind of engines. These large language models are basically just, it's all a bunch of numbers is what it is, and it uses characters from languages and various communications to kind of map this information together. But if these AI algorithms and the training data that goes into creating these is kind of left alone, right? And it analyzes all the information in the world. And I'm hoping, and I don't know that the rest of the world thinks about this like I do, but super intelligence could actually help humanity in the long run. And I think that's the common thread that you're going to take out of this from me today is that AI can be used as a benefit to humans, but not total replacement of humans. And I think we all, and I said this earlier, I think we're all being kind of like baited into thinking that it's like this us against them type of situation, which I'm not exactly sure that's the accurate way to look at it. But if the information that the AI gets is true, right, or if it's authentic or it's untampered with, we may actually find that AI is the source of truth. And the problem is that if they get corrupted with misinformation from whatever source, whatever political spectrum you want to talk about, if it becomes biased towards a certain viewpoint, right, and not get the total data set, or it can use intelligence in the long run to give us the right answer, right? What a phenomenal idea. One of the advantages of AI is that it doesn't have emotion. It doesn't have an agenda necessarily unless humans give it an agenda. And that's the part that I'm really worried about. And I think we have seen some clues over the last few months around AI having an agenda, and it's been fed a certain perspective. Now, granted, if it's feeding off of human data, it's reasonable to think that it may have some bias, right? But if it's really intelligent, then why couldn't it actually stand on its own? So let's dive into the next aspect here is what they call super intelligence. So let me go into that slide and I'll pull that up on the screen and we can see what that looks like and talk about that a little bit. Well, what is super intelligence? So, oh, it add to the screen. There we go. I'm a little big in this, I guess, but as you look at this, you can kind of see a little bit here. It's probably a little bit hard to read, but the this is basically I brought up on the screen another Wikipedia post that basically it's a keyword super intelligence, right? So what this says here is a superintelligence is a hypothetical agent. Now, I think that's the key thing to think about is that once we move into this next phase of AI or superintelligence, there's this concept of an agent, right? And I think that's the very beginning stages of AI starting to have an identity, right? A separate identity than just, it's chat GPT or something, some tool, or it starts to have its own kind of thinking, right, that goes on in it. And by using this concept of agent, implies a certain amount of autonomy, right, of process and of thought. And I think that is kind of where we're going to see this divide kind of happen, is that once we get into super intelligence, then the hypothetical agent that possesses intelligence surpassing that of the brightest and most gifted humans um, is by definition. Now, granted, when it talks about intelligence surpassing the brightest and most gifted humans, that is a pretty broad stroke, right? It depends on what kind of intelligence, human intelligence, that it's surpassing. I don't believe it's going to pass over all intelligence. And so I'm going to get to why I'm talking about this in the context of podcasting, but I just wanted to set the stage and let you know about kind of the foundation of this. And superintelligence may also refer to a property of problem solving systems. So this is what I'm talking about here is that it's a problem solving. Now, granted, humans do have an innate ability to problem solve. So I think you do have a little bit of crossover that happens here around humans kind of interfacing here and being similar to the super intelligent um, kind of capable agents that are operating in cyberspace or whatever you want to call them. And they're super intelligent language translators or engineering assistants. So these are kind of like still being thought of as an additional capability to humans, I think, anyway. And we may be a lot longer away from having these things, these agents or these super intelligent agents being at the level where they can really kind of be autonomous. Now, granted, once we inject this technology into a robot, then it does kind of have this independent kind of orientation of how we think about them. So, whether or not these high level intellectual competencies are embodied in the agents that act in the real world. Now, granted, this is where I was talking about the robots, right? But these things can operate independent of having legs and arms and feet and things to be able to get around or have the ability to talk to humans. A super intelligence may or may not be created by an intelligence explosion and associated with a technological singularity. Now, granted, there's been a lot of talk about this AI singularity where the super intelligent beings kind of replace humans. Now, I think that's a little bit overplayed on this, but let's move on to the next one. And what's the definition of a just an artificial intelligence, right? So let's look at that and see how that differs. So as you look at that, and you should be seeing that up on the screen. I'll pull it down a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. But this is also from the Wikipedia, and it's just a search query for the term artificial intelligence. And in its broadest sense, is intelligence exhibited by machines. So this is a much more simplistic level, and this is kind of, I believe, where we are, particularly computer systems, which I believe is where we are right now. It is a field of research in computer science that develops and studies methods and software that enable machines to perceive their environment and use learning and intelligence to take actions that maximize the chances of achieving a defined goal. So, such machines may be called AI. Now, I think for many years we called AI machine learning, right? Where these computers were learning from training data, and that's kind of where we're still at today. So, I don't know if that's really helpful to all of you to understand the kind of foundation to what I'm talking about here, but I think it's a good beginning to it, and I think that is kind of what my point here was, is that really it's all about what information these artificial intelligent agents or bots or whatever you want to call them, what information sources they have and where it comes from that will enable them to be useful in the future, right? I guess it depends on what we want them to be useful for. And and like I said earlier, my concerns are is that the super intelligent AI trainings will have some level of bias in them, whether that be politically motivated via regulators or by controlling the types of data that gets fed into it. As I've seen from the Tesla full self-driving stuff, is that they feed it curated videos, right? That will train the AI to behave in a certain way. When it comes to video for self-driving vehicles, the full self-driving, they only give it videos that tell it to do legal things. Now, I have noticed when I drive around my Tesla full self-driving that it will do sometimes illegal things. So somehow training data of drivers doing illegal things, because that's where that data is coming from. It's coming from human drivers that are out in the real world driving, and they will occasionally the car will do what I understand the rules of the road to be is illegal activity. So on the roadway that could be considered to be not so safe, or it just doesn't understand what the world really looks like to be able to navigate it correctly. So that's kind of an example of what I'm talking about, is that the data going in basically produces the capabilities coming out. And so that is one of the things that's going to impact any of this. Is AI going to fully replace humans? Well, let's take a look at a video that I found on YouTube that can talk about this a little bit too. So let me go ahead and play that here, and you can see what that story looks like. So let me see how I can pull that up. Let's see here. Let's see, add to stage. So let me just, oh shoot, let me see if I can, there we go. I was trying to get rid of myself. So let me go ahead and start playing that, and you can watch for yourself. This is a program off of YouTube, and I'm just going to play a minute or so of it.
The superintelligent AI's intelligence could be distributed among all the AI entities in these worlds, allowing each of these beings to exhibit human-level general intelligence. These AIs could even grant consciousness to robots in the physical world. Using advanced brain-computer interfaces, the capability to create simulated worlds could also be used for full immersion reality experiences that make users feel like they've been transported to another world. This could eventually become the biggest source of entertainment for most humans. A superintelligent AI could also connect humans to these simulations and fool them into thinking that the simulations are real. This capability may be helpful for getting criminals to mistakenly confess to crimes. On the same vein, in some countries, convicted criminals could be connected to lifelike virtual worlds where they constantly have to face psychological punishments. In the far future, humans could build a Matryoshka brain, which is a hypothetical megastructure in space of immense computational capacity, powered by a Dyson sphere or even parts of a Dyson swarm. A Matryoshka.
All right, everybody, let's get the show started here.
Wait. Jason, why are you wearing a tux? What's going on there?
Oh, well, it's time for...
Sorry about that. Yeah, I thought that was a very interesting take on it. You know, it kind of goes off into directions that are a little off topic here, but you know, since these AI agents are not human, I think that then they are kind of unlikely to take a place in our world. I think the concept that the video shared around you know, creating fake content, I think is where the line is drawn. And I guess depending on what we choose to do, what is the course that we can take to minimize the impact on that? Is that identifying content, labeling certain content as AI generated, not real, and then other content that is human created and likely more authentic? So as we kind of move through this next phase of of our experience around AI. Authenticity, like I was saying, that's the human differentiator. Emotional connection becomes very, very important. Um, but AI is going to create a lot of content in our world, and it may flood our world. The key, I think, in the long run, is to differentiate that content from human created content. And I do think that that's probably going to happen, but there's going to be stuff that slips through that is artificially created, that people think is human created, especially as the AI engines get better and better, you know. But the human emotions part and experiences are really irreplaceable. They are not something that AI is going to easily replace. Like, just an example of what happened here, I was playing that video, and if it was AI, it would be perfect, right? It would not have played a snippet from the All In podcast. But that's that's a human mistake that's authentic to humans, right? And that'll also be a sign that this is trustworthy content. It's real. Like, I'm doing this real for you. Is AI, and this is a question I want to pose to all of you, is AI going to do live programs like I just did, or what I'm doing right now? I don't know that, maybe we'll get to that point where I could actually do this show as an AI virtual Rob Greenlee, right? I could cover the same topics. I could tell it what to do. I could tell it to play a video at a certain point in the content, and it wouldn't be me, but it would still be live, right? So how do we differentiate this? How do we work through these differences? Um, and but is the AI ever really going to have that deep emotion, that nuance, that genuine empathy for all of you out there? And I don't know. I mean, I think it's maybe still a little bit up in the air about how this is going to turn out. I think it gets back to what we do as humans, right? How do we react to this? Do we double down and get down into being more authentic and real, more human, and really actively connect with people to create authentic human connections, right? And that may push us into more in-person connections. That may push us more into, really kind of offline to some degree, right? We may push more into, and I do think that we're starting to see that a little bit already. I think, there are many in-person events, local in-person events that seem to be getting more and more interest out there. Um, Being human basically allows you to connect with your audience at a deeper level, and I think we all know that. That's what's going on here, and I definitely enjoy this show because of the ability to do that. And certainly, if you want to post any comments on your thoughts on this, I'll bring it up on the screen, and we can talk about it a little bit as well. But I think your content becomes more relatable, hopefully more impactful. But these are all wishes that I think that we're still at the early stages of knowing the differentiation here, and what we need to, how we as humans, and I know I'm starting to think more about this myself, is how can I do this, what I'm doing like right now? How can I do it in a way that is so much better than anything that AI could ever do? That it has, um, you know, it has a greater benefit that's going to outweigh that. Like Arena says on the screen, is consciousness quantifiable? And I don't know that, where's that line? I don't really have the answer to that question. Of at one point, does AI have a consciousness? I think the concept of a consciousness maybe needs to, I think we start getting very quickly into these spiritual differentiations as well, and how we think about our our human relationship with, a creator, or our belief structure around our morals and our ethics. and those type of aspects of things. And I'm going to go into more and more, but our tactical advantage here against AI, if we want to beat AI, is really focus on our ability to tell personal stories, tell our struggles. AI is not going to have, personal stories and struggles in their life and successes. All they're going to have is, I guess, in their mind, they're always successful, right? They're always doing the perfect thing, right? But I think we all know if you've used AI, they certainly don't um, give me the impression that they're perfect and they don't make mistakes. They definitely make mistakes. So, can humans be capable of making fewer mistakes than AI? I guess is where the line starts getting drawn. But I think that the mistakes are just different. Um, AI, from my use of it, has to be edited. It has to be I have to ask it to generate things multiple times because it's not quite accurate or it makes a mistake. It doesn't know how to spell in an image. So there's a lot of kind of human engagement that has to be had with AI. So as you think about a podcast, you can use it to support what you're doing, but I don't know that you can quite yet where you can fully rely on it. And if you want to um, prove success, success is in acceptance of what you're doing, and and emotional connection fosters long-term loyalty. Um, and AI is just not. I don't think it's going to do that, especially if they know that it's AI, right? Now, granted, if you're trying to deceive somebody, and that may be where we go for a while until there's enough backlash. But the other aspect is original thought and creativity. You know, is the AI really just going to mimic things? It's not going to have any original thoughts. Is it going to? I mean, it does create kind of new mashups. Might be a good term to describe it, of things that it learns from its training. Right? It does generate unique things every time it creates something, um, but but it basically generates data based on content, right? That it's gotten from likely from humans, right? I do wonder about this, and I was going to talk about it a little bit later in the episode, is will someday AI learn from AI? Will AI watch AI generated content to learn? I don't, it seems very incestuous, right? Where the AI is kind of getting trained by other AIs, but I suppose that's possible. It depends on how specialized the AI is. But I don't know that AI really has the same type of true creativity and original thought that humans do. And I think that's our power. Humans can think beyond algorithms. Um, it's probably a much more simplistic, but yet more advanced kind of technique that humans use. Um, Humans are willing to um, do creative risks. You know, what is the concept of a creative risk to an AI bot? Is is it just creating something and making a mistake? Is that equivalent to creative risk and then error? I think that a lot of humans have this thought that all of us should, fail fast is the concept, right? So make a lot of mistakes really fast, learn as fast as you can, and then you're going to create better output. I know there's a lot of people that say that in the podcasting space too. Is that if you're going to make all your mistakes, do it right at the beginning before anybody's watching, right? Just learn everything you can learn. And then as you get better and you don't make as many mistakes, your success will grow. Granted, sometimes that works. I don't know that it does every time, but what's the advantage of being a human in this particular situation? It's pushing the boundaries of storytelling and experimentation with new formats, or create hybrid content that blends various genres together Original daring ideas will stand out in a sea of AI generated content. So that's I think that's a little bit of the key. And then the other aspect that needs to be talked about here too is humans' ability to build community. I don't know if AI is going to have the ability to build community in an authentic way that humans are going to connect with, unless it's trying to build community with other AI agents or bots, which gets back to this whole concept of consciousness, right? Are AIs going to be sentient beings just like humans are? That may be at some point in the future that then an AI content creator creates a show, does autonomously, whether it's a robot or if it's just a virtual entity of some sort, creates content and builds engagement with maybe a combination of humans and with other AI bots that want to maybe learn from that particular AI agent or that AI artificial intelligent robot or being that has maybe specialized knowledge based on its training. But maybe also over time, those AI agents will be truly autonomous and truly conscious and will actually search out and research things. And that's a very interesting way of thinking about it too. AI can generate automatic responses and optimize for engagement, but building and nurturing communities requires human ability at this point, and foster authentic relationships through in-person interactions, maybe direct communication, that AIs are just not going to, at this point, until they do, like I was saying earlier, is they have consciousness and they have independent existence, they have independent rights, and they have access to do things without human direction. That may be a long way off, but humans crave really genuine human interactions and connections. And especially when trying to foster a sense of belonging. And what's the advantage around community building and engagement for humans? It's engage directly with your community, hold live Q&As, respond personally to feedback, create authentic conversations. People value and trust human connections over automated interactions. Though I think we're going to see more automated interactions, and that's where that AI agent or that super intelligent agent conversation I was having earlier in the show is that those agents, to some degree, will be kind of like true virtual assistants to humans, right? They will augment my human ability to interact with the world. They will be able to facilitate the interaction with many more people at the same time, because maybe I'm sleeping when that interaction needs to happen. But I think that AI agent needs to be just like me. It needs to understand my priorities, my human capabilities. Now, granted, if we do that, then maybe we're creating our own nightmare, which means that is helping this AI agent become more human. So that is the bigger question. Do we want it to be a helpful companion, or do we want to train it to be potentially our replacement? And that's always a possibility that could be the outcome from all this as you look down the line into the future. And then also another aspect of this too, of the human battle with AI, is contextual understanding and adaptability. Now, granted, I think I've alluded to what we're talking about here. Is AI thrives on data, but cannot fully understand complex social, cultural, and emotional contexts. Right? It's just not there. It just doesn't have that ability. And I think it's going to take a very long time before we get there. humans can pick up subtle clues about things, adapt to rapidly changing circumstances. I was just thinking about this as I'm talking about this, is that when was the last time we talked about the characteristics of humans and their strengths and their weaknesses? And this AI is challenging us to find out how human can we be, and what does it mean to be human? If we can adapt to rapidly changing circumstances, we can adapt to a very messy, complex world that we live in right now. And maybe that's what's going on right now, is that we as humans are being challenged to step up to the plate, a- as a term to describe it, and really learn how we can have more empathy, nuance, and toughness in the face of very difficult, challenging questions and issues that we have in our society today. You know, will humans survive? Will humans make it? is is a is a big question right now. We might, because we can't manage our emotions, we may blow ourselves up. You know, I don't know well, that could be the path. It's certainly we've certainly built the infrastructure to destroy ourselves, but I guess that's part of being human. So what are the technical advantages for humans competing with AI? I think one of them is in media creation, podcasting, shows. Uh, Context matters. So, current events, shifting cultural dynamics, and sensitive topics in ways only humans can. And this is what I'm talking about, creating content on those topics, I think is very, very, very important for us to think about, is that what responsibilities do all of us have to help humans get through this very challenging times? And I do think it's very challenging times. You know, the human ability to adapt, respond meaningfully to real world events will differentiate us from AI. How strong are we of will and mind and consciousness? Will we be able to stand up to the AI, which is maybe our evolutionary next step? I don't know if all of you have thought about it in that context, but I know I have. Is like, well, maybe the course that we're on right now, but we're many years away from it, is that this artificial intelligent consciousness is our next evolutionary step. Is it possible that flesh and blood and biology and all this stuff was just a stepping stone to our ultimate destiny, our ultimate existence in our destiny, which is to transition to this new artificial digital existence, right? And will we eventually just upload our consciousness to the cloud, or whatever, however you want to call it? But anyway, that's another topic for another podcast, I suppose. But the other advantage that we have, that we need to talk about too, is the ability to storytell. Now, I don't know that AI has a technical ability to storytell, but it doesn't necessarily have really much of an orientation to communicating purpose and meaning, right? All it does is regurgitate what it's learned in its training, right? AI can generate stories based on patterns, but can't instill those stories with purpose, value, and personal meaning to anyone, really, anyone specific. It can't be, at this point, I don't perceive that they have original thought themselves, I guess, is part of is really what I'm saying, that then can dovetail into some sort of a purpose or meaning that drives a story that's unique. Like the story I'm telling in this episode tonight would be difficult for an AI to really tell at the level that I'm telling it, because it doesn't have the nuance of a human experience driving it. And so as we think about, storytelling and purpose and meaning, that translates into potentially great stories that draws human connection, right? It drives human passion. It drives human vision for a future, which drives a purpose and a meaning. And I don't know that AI just doesn't have the consciousness for that. It's just not there. So that's a technical advantage for us as humans trying to compete in an AI world, is to focus on storytelling. It's artful human skill that goes beyond any capability of a computer or an algorithm or an AI engine at this point. It really only does what we tell it to do right now. It goes beyond and gets information that maybe we don't have in our own head that we can learn from, but it's not a whole lot different than just do a search in Google and reading a bunch of web pages, really, at the end of the day. So a focus on storytelling. These stories need to, or will, because of the human experience behind it, will resonate with audiences on a deeper level and create long-lasting impact. You just look at some of the world's most famous writers and leaders. They are amazing storytellers. I mean, I think that's a skill. It's also termed as lore, which is basically a intragenerational story that helps people understand context of the past and of your present and your existence as a human being on this planet. And then this next one that's important in our battle against AI is the concept of ethics and moral judgment. Sometimes I wonder if the world is kind of missing some of this, even in the human side right now. But it's so important as we look to the future. Good morning, Sonia. And it looks like you posted a question here, Sonia, right? What do content creators need to learn about AI the most? Well, I think that's what I'm talking about tonight, is that I think we're being kind of driven into a state of fear about AI. And I think we just need to have a clear understanding of what our human role is in this technology. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, do we just lay down and die and let this AI thing run over us? Or do we stand up and take control and say, we're strong, we're humans, we have intelligence that technology, at least in the short run, will never have. And I shouldn't say never. I think it probably will. It depends on the timescales that we're talking about here. If we're talking about in the next 4 to 5 years, I don't think it's going to be. It'll replace some jobs that are out there, and I think that will be an issue. I just don't know that it's going to replace all jobs or anything like that. So there's going to be new jobs that are created. So this whole ethics and moral judgment part of it is just something that's really beyond the scope of AI or even super intelligent AI. It'll tell you, if you ask it a question, it'll tell you what the spectrum of choices are here, but it's not going to make its own kind of values judgment itself and then reflect that onto others, unless it's programmed to be biased, unless it's fed information that tells it that it needs to have a certain ethic or a certain moral judgment. I think that's the big issue here. While humans can make complex ethical decisions and navigate moral and ethical dilemmas, that can cut through deception and dishonesty, and the challenges of our time. It's really beliefs over facts is what differentiates us. So we do have a belief system that's it's based on religion or just our perceptional beliefs about what's true in the world. Um, but it can also be incorrect. And if AI just uses that only, um, the facts can be left behind. So I'm like I mentioned earlier, is that I'm hoping that AI will be left alone to learn everything. And then if it's going to be so intelligent, like everybody says it is, maybe it will give us what the truth is. I'm open to hearing whatever the truth is, as long as I know the truth. But the problem is, I don't know that based on what we've been through, that we'll be able to trust whatever it tells us, right? So we're always going to be questioning everything. And facts are becoming less and less important now, or what the truth is becoming less and less um, available, right? We need the media that can take on a moral and ethical responsibility, and that would be podcasters. Trust is increasingly critical, and being able to believe someone as they say things. Now, granted, what I'm telling you is half opinion myself and half things that I've researched and learned about. So there is a little bit of belief on my part that's coming out here. But if it makes, I think the term common sense starts to take a place here, especially as AI grows in its influence. The facts, hopefully, over time, that comes out of AI will contribute to determining what is true, and will break this kind of division that we have, and add context to a more fact-based belief. If it's left to all of the ranges of beliefs and data about the world. So, what are the advantages that we have based on ethics and moral judgment that humans have over AI? Maintaining transparency, accountability, unbiased data knowledge, right? And a solid ethical foundation. That needs to be built into the AI algorithm too. But that needs to be clearly defined what that is, right? And it's going to have the same challenges that humans have, is to determine what's correct and what's not correct, right? If you position yourself as a trusted creator, like I'm trying to do, who prioritizes integrity, responsibility, this will earn you credibility in an era when AI may cause massive distrust. So that's our advantage. Now, granted, I've been talking about the spectrum here of what's possible, but that's it. And the next aspect here to talk about is our ability, as opposed to AI, to customize and personalize things. Now, granted, this can be easily automated, as we've seen with algorithms at Facebook and other social platforms, that we can be fed what we think we need and what we think we want. And that can easily be automated. So AI could create content based on what it knows about us and what it thinks we want to see. And that can be a very distrustful relationship. And I think that's why we've been seeing so many issues with the social networks and the social platforms, basically putting their thumb on the scale of different information that's fed. And also it feeds off of what your interests are, right? So it only gives you what you want to see, not what you need to see, which is a whole different question, right? What do you need to see? What you need to see is a cross section, so you can make better choices and decisions in your life. But what these algorithms do is they keep feeding the engine, trying to give you a new dopamine hit. And that keeps your attention, that keeps you scrolling to the next thing and reading the next thing. And if over time it's learned the kind of things that get your attention. And that's what AI is going to do. AI will create content based on aggregated data that it knows about you. And but it cannot truly understand individual preferences at the level that they exist. It can only look at it on a superficial level and just say, well, what are the shiny things that get his or her attention quickly, right? That doesn't get into the nuances. And as a human, you can craft customized experiences for your audience based on personal experience and bring better interaction and feedback and talk about topics maybe that audience hadn't even thought of before in this context. And that's what I'm trying to do in this episode tonight. And what's your tactical advantage as a human versus AI? Personalize your content and interactions based on a human lens. Offer tailored advice, shout outs, and community specific content that is of interest to your community at an authentic level, and be as truthful and trustworthy as you can. That may mean that you have to say things that maybe some people don't like, or you have to share data that is different than people's understanding of reality. That is a very difficult situation to be in, you know. And also by making your audience feel seen and heard, you'll build loyalty. And the AI can't really replicate that. I guess it can go through the motions and react inauthentically with you in an automated standpoint, and we'll probably see that. And the next aspects or the next aspect that's important to us is a purpose-driven and visionary leadership aspect to what you're doing. So this gets back to finding an issue in our society and our culture that we feel is going to help them, right? Human creators are often motivated by a more excellent vision or purpose, and goes beyond just creating content. It goes into these areas of connection. So, and that is not something that AI is even going to be thinking about, right? AI doesn't go to a meetup somewhere and meet up with another AI. Maybe that'll happen at some point. Maybe as we get autonomous robots that have AI capabilities in them that develop their own consciousness and their own awareness and their own pursuits, just like humans, that we will join robots at meetups. I think that's probably beyond my lifespan, but I could be wrong. Definitely, that could be coming sooner than we think. I do think that AI-driven robots are going to be very purposeless, only from the standpoint of a human purpose, more purposeful to a specific task or specific skill that it's been given through data. So AI lacks the visionary drive. And as a human, you can lead your audience towards meaningful goals and social causes, or just a different way of looking at the world. Is probably not something that an AI is going to be good at. So what's your advantage from a purpose-driven and visionary leadership? Let's talk about that. Humans lead through thought, vision, innovative thinking, and inspiring a certain action or a certain thought or a certain movement or a certain change dynamic, right? Whether your content addresses social issues, inspires positive change, or creates movements, like I was saying, purpose-driven media will resonate with audience more deeply than AI generated, which will typically not really have a motivating purpose behind it. It'll just be a regurgitation of information, right? So that's the opportunity there with purpose-driven content. And I think that's the real differentiator here. If you're a content creator and how you want to stand out in this next generation, right? So I wanted to talk about something new for me as well here, and wanted to share something with you. I've started a community on Skools, which is a kind of like a community platform. And so what this is really is just a platform that enables me to create those direct connections like what I've been talking about in this episode. And you can join this community. It's free. It's the Adore Creator community, and it's available at this QR code that's on the screen. So and I can actually share some links to this in the show notes of the show as well. So I just wanted to share this. This is a brand new thing. I'm just launching it. I'm trying to get it off the ground, and it's a way for you know people in the podcasting space or creators or whatever that maybe want to work with me a little bit can do such a thing through a pathway. And also I can build community around this and have interaction with those people in that community, and then have one-on-one kind of calls with people, and to create a creator's toolkit. Now, granted, this is a fairly common thing now, and I'm also building a podcast network called the Adore Podcast Network. It's actually a network that's built on the Spreaker platform. So just wanted to share that a little bit. And if you have some way to scan this QR code that's on the screen right now, you can quickly join the community. So let me stop sharing that. I'll come back to you. So let me talk about one last thing that I wanted to talk about here. Actually, I think there's a couple more, but I think I have a little bit of time. I'll probably go another maybe 15 minutes or so with the show. But let me talk about kind of another aspect of human connection here as opposed to AI. And that is, hey, Johnny, thank you so much for joining the show tonight. I appreciate it. And hello, everyone, Johnny says. Well, thanks, Johnny. Yeah, and if you have any comments or questions about these topics, it's I think it's a pretty deep topic that I took on tonight. And I think one of the other things too, and this is really kind of dovetails off of what I've been talking about, is the ability to adapt and evolve. While AI improves primarily through human created data, it lacks the human ability to intuitively adapt and evolve with changing cultural, societal, and technological trends. So I think it is a capability that humans have. Humans can grow creatively and emotionally, basically responding to changes in ways that AI can't predict. We are unpredictable. You and I, in what we do every day is not predictable unless we're just an AI, right? Which typically has fairly predictable behavior. Now, granted, AI is being coded to be relatively unique, but I do think it has repeating patterns to it because that's what its programming tells it to do. So as we look at this adaptation and evolution abilities that humans have over AI, what's the advantages? Well, the advantages are staying ahead by embracing new trends and technologies while maintaining your unique human touch. Not unlike what I'm doing in this program tonight. So being flexible and evolving will ensure you're consistently relevant to whoever you're speaking to. That 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 really just means that you're engaging your mind and you're open to things that are going on in the world and things that are interesting to you. And I think we are moving to a time when our passions and our interests are going to become more important than ever. And that's where podcasting comes in. That's the dovetail to podcasting is this pursuit of our unique human touch and being flexible and evolving our knowledge and our abilities and our skills will ensure you're consistently relevant. And while AI's reliance on data can limit its adaptability, because it's only going to, it depends on, I guess it depends on how fast it learns and how fast it's training. It may be able to adapt, but it may not be able to adapt on a dime. Like a lot of AI over the last couple of years has been based on training data that was like 4 or 5 or 6 months old. So you can't tell me that an AI is capable of adapting like a human does when I'm learning constantly every day and I make different decisions based on input that I get every day. So that's the thing. And being flexible is your superpower. And always learning is also another superpower. Um, the other one here is AI as a tool, not a replacement for you. It's not a replacement for you. It's a tool for you to be maybe more efficient, maybe come up with some better ideas, but you're going to have to filter those to find what the best ideas are. But it can help you along the path at this point. I don't think we should look at AI as trying to replace us, replace our brains and our thought processes. Um, look at AI as a as just a help. Um, I don't think we need to look at it as a direct competitor. I think it's a tool to enhance our workflow. While AI can handle automation, transcripts, editing, and even idea generation, it doesn't have all the answers there. And it doesn't have a perfect answer or always a correct answer. The human touch in refining those ideas is the foundation of all this. Adds emotional depth and crafting meaningful narratives will always be necessary. Now, some people will choose not to take advantage of those mental skills. They will rely entirely on AI to do it for them. So what's your tactical advantage when it comes to AI as a tool? Leverage AI to handle repetitive tasks, podcast editing, show notes, so you can focus on the creative and human aspects and relationship building that only you as a human can do. So, and the next advantage that humans have over AI, AI to augment your skills, not replace them. So as we move from using it as a tool, it's an augmentation of your skills, not a replacement. Future media creation and podcasting will involve more AI. There's no question. But the human element will always be irreplaceable. And I think we've kind of covered that pretty well here. As AI generates more content, and it will, and the unique value of human-led media will increase. Now, my co-host Todd Cochran says this on the podcast too. He thinks that AI will eventually be labeled. And so you'll see content that pops up and says this is AI generated. And then there's going to be other content that pops up like this show that's human generated. And it's likely going to be identified. And as AI generates more content, and it will, the unique value of human-led media will increase. The creativity, authenticity, emotions, and ethical leadership are areas where AI just can't compete. Not yet, anyway. And by doubling down on these strengths, humans can beat AI and lead in a rich future, and especially around media creation. So I wanted to mention a couple last things, and then we will move on with our evening here. But there are some ethical elements around monetization tactics that come into play here too, especially as we think about AI tools, and because AI tools will increasingly be involved in managing monetization strategies and optimizing and maximizing might be a good word to describe it, the actual monetization of your content as a human. And so we have to keep in mind that automation of monetization comes with some serious risks. Comes with the risk of losing audience. It comes with the risk of losing trust in your audience towards the human host. Because if the AI goes off the rails and starts, loading up on ads in your show, or putting them in bad spots, or maybe it selects the wrong type of advertisers or sponsors of your show to run against your show, then that can harm the human experience. Because generally this content's not going to be playing to AI agents. It's going to be playing to other humans. So I think you have to really be conscious of the ethical aspects of how you're using the AI engines to monetize. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about tonight is solutions for overcoming common digital marketing challenges. AI agents will be able to automate many of the processes. So along with monetization automation that is likely coming, there is an awful lot that can be done with AI automation of digital marketing strategies and implementations. So as you think about that, of ways that the AI can look at your content and find pathways to promote it, right? And have those pathways be fairly automated and AI managed. To some degree, we're seeing a little bit of that right now. Some AI is being used to find insertion points in content by analyzing the waveform and finding those unique positions in the content that will lend themselves to an ad insertion of some sort. So that's just the beginning of it. But then there's going to be other aspects of taking clips from the show and putting that out as shorts or social posts or those kind of things that could be automated with an AI engine as well. And then buying ads, buying placement in other podcasts, buying placement in the other social platforms too, and using AI to actually do all that is also another possibility as well. So these are all things that hopefully you'll think about, and I appreciate you being here tonight, and it's great to have you back here on my show, Podcast Tips with Rob Greenlee. This is an unusual night for me. I usually don't do the show on Friday nights. I usually do the show on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, where tonight I'm on Friday. I had to be out of the house last night, so I missed last night's episode. But I will put this episode out as an audio and video podcast. So you'll be able to find the audio and video version in Apple Podcasts in a day or so here, and also tell your friends. Tell them about this show, and I would love to hear from all of you as well. So let me pull up on the screen here ways that you can contact me. So I can be reached rob.greenlee@gmail.com. I'm also on X at Rob Greenlee. My YouTube channel is just youtube.com/Rob Greenlee. And let's see here, what's the other? And then My website is robgreenlee.com. And if you wanted to pick up this show, get all the episodes, see the video and the audio off of my website, it's just podcasttips.blueberry. That's BLUBRRY.net is the WordPress website for that. So you can get all the episodes, all the past episodes. I'm at episode 41. So I've been on this journey for, gosh, I guess it's coming up on a year's worth of episodes. So thank you so much for being here with me tonight. And let me turn this off. And I hope you'll be back with me next week, next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, on another episode of Podcast Tips. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. And thank you so much for being here with me tonight.